what are we mainly here to talk about? We're mainly here to talk about Canvas Studio. So today, I wanted you to, basically, when we get started with Canvas Studio, I'm gonna roll up my pictures here. Just so you know, since I'm recording, sometimes when I stop screen sharing, it shows all of our photos. So if you don't want to be on camera, you might want to just turn your camera off for that part. Also though, sometimes I try to edit that part out. So what is Canvas Studio? Canvas Studio is actually an add-on to Canvas. It's considered an external tool. So if you've made any assignments yet and you've seen or heard anybody talk about external tools, then you want to know that Canvas Studio is an external tool. It's an extra cost that the district is paying to have this included with our version of Canvas, just so you're aware of that. And it allows instructors and students to actively collaborate through video and audio. So there is a whole studio website because, like I said, it's an outside product. But just from this graphic, you can see that this instructor has added some questions. That's what these blue stopping points are. And then there's a discussion board underneath. Students can adjust the rate, that sort of thing. But what I also find is really awesome about it is that when you are in your Canvas, if you just click Studio on the left, it's over here on the left, and I have mine open already, you get a whole library. And when you first open your Canvas Studio, it's going to be a blank slate, right? You're not going to have anything there. But what you want to know is that you can build collections, and these can be different types of collections. So for instance, as a trainer, professional developer, then I might need to keep track of videos for elementary. I've been keeping track of Canvas. But then again, I build a course and I have some videos about that particular course, so I put those into a collection. Collections are going to be kind of personal to you, but something I might suggest is that you make a collection, think of it as a folder, of videos that might need to be reviewed or they're works in progress. So in addition to content collections, you might have management collections. I'm all about staying organized, and this will help you stay organized if you come up with a system that works for you with storing and managing videos. And then you can sort your video by collections, how you view them, by videos, by date added. So this is my studio library, and I'm just going to pop out the side menu. I think folks on my team refer to this as the hamburger menu. I just call it the 3-line menu, but you know that those 3 lines are 3 dots, the snowman menu, the ice cube tray. There are a lot of different names for these little menus. Don't be afraid to click them. This one shows you videos that have been shared with me. So I'm just going to give you a, for instance here, I don't have any in my shared with me, but one thing I did do is I joined a course of Eric's, and he had some videos in his studio, and then I would ask him to share those with me. So if you are going to be dividing and conquering with your team, keep in mind that you don't have to make all the videos and find some convoluted way of sharing them, because you can just share the videos right from your instance of Studio. I haven't looked at the studio settings. Let's take a look at that just so we can look at it together. This is how I learn the things in Canvas. I just try to click each thing and see what it means. So the teacher has all these options for Studio, and the student also has access to Studio. So that's something to know. If you're looking for some sort of video response from students, they could use Studio as well. And you can decide if you want to allow them to just upload it, record it, or add from YouTube. And this is something we're going to look at as instructors, this add from YouTube option. I don't know much about integrations, and you can see I don't have much going on there. No developer keys, no studio keys, and no LTI keys. So I don't really know what those things are, but I'm sure that in the coming months, I'll be learning even more about those different things. Okay, so let's take a look at the studio interface. When you're on your studio page, I'm just going to go back to my library. You see all my collections are back. On the upper right, hopefully you can see it. Depending on your Zoom view, you might have to drag things around. Or if you're looking at your own screen, that might be even better. On the upper right, there's a record button, an add button, and a search button. Now the search button just searches your collection. So I'm not going to use that one today. But once you get a lot of videos in here, I would recommend some sort of a naming convention, whether it's all my science videos include the word science, or if it's specific to matter, or whatever it is, find a naming convention so that when you go to search, it's a lot easier. I know I've talked about this with others, that same goes for Google Drive. I really try to be strict with my naming of things, not strict, but obvious. I want to say obvious, so that when I go to search for something, I can find it more easily, because I've given up on organizing my Google Drive with folders or anything like that. But I am going to start with collections here in Studio. When you click record, you can screen capture or webcam capture. So if in the spring you used a lot of Screencastify, remember it was free, it worked great, it integrated with Google Drive, and like there were so many great features about it, and I still love it. I used Loom, I used Zoom even for screen captures. Don't forget, you can just start yourself a Zoom meeting, record your screen, make a screencast that way, save it as a video, no problem. Then you could put it into Studio. But if I want to just screen capture here, it's going to go ahead, and in the beginning, you might have to download something if you're going to be installing it directly to your computer. Now I have my camera on, so I'm not sure. Oh, here we go. So it did come on, perfect. You can see I can decide to record just my screen, just my webcam, or both. Here's my microphone, it's working, it's down on the lower left. Here's my record button. The gear button gives you these settings. You can set some preferences in here. I don't really mess around too much with those. And then cancel, so let's not do that yet. Over here, it's gonna tell me whether or not my webcam is on and where I wanna put it. So you can click over here. This lets me choose if I wanna choose. I have 2 cameras, so now my webcam is on, and I would be set to record. Once you're done, it's going to process and render right here in Studio. I'm going to cancel that for now, and you will end up with a video in your My Library. So there's both of those options, screen capture and webcam. You're not just going to be recording Canvas. Maybe you're on another website. I have this, Moon Phases video open. Maybe you want to record this video and talk over it a little bit, or pause it as you go. You can totally do that. Another thing you can do is add videos. So I'm just going to copy this URL from YouTube, and if I click the add button, I can paste it in right here and click add. And now that YouTube video becomes part of my Studio video collections. And somebody asked me the other day about finding videos on YouTube and struggling to get them into a playlist and different things like that. And I said, well, you could put those in a Studio collection. And why is that beneficial? Because once you have resources in your Studio library, you're able to use those in your Canvas assignments, your Canvas discussions, a lot of other ways you can interact with it in Canvas, and it's already there. And I'm going to show you those, so don't worry about that. Also, when you click add, you can drag and drop. So if you made Screencast before, or maybe you've already been working on Screencast before you learned about Studio, don't worry, you can just upload those right here into Studio, no problem. Most of the time, you're going to be looking for an MP4 file or some other sort of video. So I could upload this one. I've got, I don't know, here's a Book video I had made. So if I'm like, oh, that video is pretty good, let me make sure and put it in my Canvas Studio. Now here it is. Here's my Book video that I made in the last year or the year before for school. Okay, so that's the record and add, and they're actually pretty simple. I would recommend you practice the recording, click around on the buttons, and see how it works for you, just to get the hang of it. And I definitely recommend trying to have a script of some sort when you're making a video. So here's my Canvas Studio library. I'm gonna just stop sharing for a second and see if you have any questions about that part, because that's kind of the basic getting started, how it works. I'm gonna check the chat, or if you have a question, you can unmute, and then we'll just move on to the next part.
So Michelle, once you make your collection, how do you get videos that you already have made into a collection?
Okay, so let's take a look at that. Here's my works in progress. Let me just look at the 3-dot menu, share the whole collection, rename or delete. What I like to do is right here now I have this single video. When I click it, I can say move to, and then here's my list of collections. So while it can be a little tricky to like think about your collections ahead of time, maybe you get like 5-10 videos and then you decide what your collections are going to be. So the 3-dot or snowman menu is where you're going to be able to move them, change the thumbnail, those sort of things. Now, let's talk about this. I'm going to show you one thing that I had done. We made this Canvas Units course, which is all about organizing your content. And when I made it, we were going to be doing it, you know, together, synchronous. And I decided, well, for people who aren't doing it with me, they're going to need a video. So this is how I learned Canvas Studio. I'm like, well, let me make my videos using Canvas Studio. And when I put them in here, I noticed I didn't make it a quiz, which we're going to talk about. All I did was put it in to my module, and it enables this commenting if you allow it option. And I can also get insights about viewers. So it's kind of like a scaled down play pause it, if you will, built into Canvas. So I didn't add any questions to this one. It's just a start and finish. But you can see that it added that discussion feature. It gives me those insights. And I could add captions, which is important for accessibility. And it looks like it'll auto do those. So we'll let that work and see what that looks like at the end. Now, back to Studio Library. So I want to show you, I've got this video from YouTube, right, on Moon Phases Crash Course. I can share it with somebody else. So I can create a public link, or if I wanted to, I can give this to somebody else and here's what they can do. Either view it or edit it. I would probably most of the time be saying can view so they can make a copy. And these sharing settings, you know, kind of mirror what we already do with Google Drive and Google Docs and things like that. Now, the create quiz. So I've got my Moon Phases video crash course is a great science resource on YouTube. And now I want to add questions to it and make it a video. Recommendation number 1, make sure you watch the video first. I have definitely done this before. I'm like, oh, let me make this quick quiz from the video, and I haven't watched the video yet, and that makes it pretty tricky. So I'm just going to call it Moon Phases. You can call it whatever you want. You could add a description. You can either let the kids see when the questions are going to pop up or not. So that's your decision. Then I'm going to get started. So you can see here, if you take a look, I always like to look at the gear. Those are the things I've already done. So I'm all set there. I still have my Canvas global navigation, but down at the bottom, I've got a plus sign now. We're probably not going to put our question at the very. Well, you could put a question at the beginning, like, what do you already know? You could certainly have a previewing question, but let's take a look at the question types. Multiple choice, true, false, or multiple answer. One of the things about this studio quiz is it's going to auto grade and go into your Canvas gradebook and in turn to your Sapphire gradebook. So that's something to keep in mind. Multiple choice. I shouldn't say that, right? What is a moon phase? And then you would put in your answer here. And then your answer. And then any other answers, with your options. Decide if you're going to give feedback for correct or incorrect or general feedback, and then save. And now I've got a question at this point in the video. Then you can go wherever you want in the video and add your questions. So maybe here I would add a true, false. You hope they're going to say true. And then you could say, hey, if they say false, you can give them another video to watch or something like that. So you can give them some feedback on that particular answer. So there are no open-ended questions, but remember, you do have the discussion option. That part's not graded, but I'm going to show you something about that as well. So I'll click done. And now I can see when I go to this video, I have my Moon Phases quiz. I could have another quiz based on that same video, which I did not know. So I think that's great. You can use the same video and have multiple quizzes. Now, the next question is, hey, how do I get these videos to the kids? And that's exactly what we're going to talk about next. let's already have the question read to students. I'm not sure about that. So the question is in there, will it read it to the students? I know you can do that and play pause it, but I do not know that you can do that here. So let's take a look. That might be one you're gonna have to stick with play pause it for. Unless they have a screen reader or a program installed that reads everything to them, you're only able to type in answers here. That's an excellent question. So if you need the questions and responses or responses read to students, then we're gonna direct you to Play Pause It, which is also an amazing product, and they have tons of great features. You can run a whole course through Play Pause It now, apparently, and she's gonna be showing us that next week. So that's an excellent question. Now, how do you get it to the students? That's what we want to know, right? So we've got our collections, we've got our videos, we uploaded, we inserted from YouTube, and now the question is, what are we going to do next? Before we get to that, I want to mention that in a recent communication, we broadcasted that there were 3 courses you could self-enroll in, and one of those is Interactive Tools in Canvas, where the team gave a whole section on learning Canvas Studio. So if you self-enroll in Interactive Tools, you can click Play Pause It from the bottom, or you can click on Module, or not Play Pause It, Studio from the bottom, and then, or you can click Modules, and you can get information about Studio, Studio Discussion, and how to use Studio. So that's in the Interactive Tools course that you can self-enroll in. Okay, so we're gonna head over to my dashboard. Hopefully you've been in Canvas already. I will show you there are 3 dots here on the upper right. So if you have shaded things over your cards and you don't like that, you can turn that off up here. You can have list view, which I am not a fan of for my dashboard. I'm happy with card view. But just know that you and your students have some options for what your dashboard looks like. So here's my sandbox, and this is where we're gonna go first. And I'm going to show you a couple of different ways. This is, like I said, my sandbox course. This is a home page for my sandbox. And usually there's a to-do list over here. I don't have anything to do in this course. I'm going to go right to modules. All right, so here we are. I am putting together a back-to-school module, which if you've taken any of our courses or met with any of the instructional technology coaching team, we want you to be thinking in an instructional cycle mode when it's planning your modules. So this is a welcome back page, a welcome back discussion. I put in this Canvas Studio for us to take a look at it today. And then I just have a few other resources that I'm hoping will be part of this back to school module, which is a work in progress. So I just wanted to show you right here, I used the external tool link, and I'm going to show you how I did it, but I want to show you what it looks like. So when I click on this, remember now I'm looking at the instructor view, not the student view, but it'll look very similar. It shows the video. I used the crash course video, and then it has the comment box, insights, captions, all the things that you saw earlier. And the way that I did that, let's return to modules, and we'll go through this. So remember, Canvas Studio is an external tool. So if I'm in my welcome back module, in fact, let me just go to my another pretend module I have down here. Let's go to module 1, and I'll just move it up so we can look at it at the top of the page. Remember, you have total control over what this page looks like. And I would recommend moving modules around based on what week you're doing in class, that sort of thing, to make sure that the student focus maybe is always at the top. I'm sure you're gonna do what works best for you. For me, I think it might be helpful to have the current content at the top. Okay, so when I click the plus sign in my module here on the right, I can come down here to external tool. And here are my external tools. We are working on this menu. I have Flipgrid added in here, but it wasn't quite working. So I'm not sure yet. I just had to add it the other day. You know, that we're adding things in here, but here's TCI. I haven't tested all of those, but the one we're looking for today is Canvas Studio. When you click that, okay, now remember, this is only going to put in a link. I've got my little pop-up that pretty much looks the same as my library. I could record right from here. I could add something. I can do all the things, or I can simply click one and put it into my module, and I can either do a standard embedding with comments on or off, totally up to you. Now remember, if you just stick it in there this way, there aren't going to be any directions. Now, obviously, if it's a screencast you made, you've probably provided video directions. If it's a quiz, then you come over here and your quizzes will be in the drop-down. So, in fact, let's pick the one that I was just working on, the moon phases, just so we'll see what that looks like. So I select moon phases. If I go to video quiz, remember I had the moon phases quiz, and if I had made another one, there would be another option here. So you could have like a pre-quiz and a post-quiz, whatever works for you and your students. And then I would just embed it. Now this one I put the quiz in. Last one I had not. So it just says Canvas Studio. That's not very informative. So I might come in here and say moon phases video quiz. You know how, and we are also talking about naming conventions. So if this is module 1, this might be like 1.5 because this is the 5th thing in that list of things to be done. So that's the external tool way. Simply add it right to the module. Pretty simple, especially if you've already been doing these. You could easily do it this way without making any big fuss about it. Now, you can also put them in other ways. Let's take a look at where I have these. Let me go to my pages. All pages. Okay, now I'm pretty sure I made one, I thought. Here we go, a studio page. So you know that the Canvas page, or if you don't know, I'm telling you, the Canvas page is like a web page inside of Canvas. Mixed media, you can have text, images, video, external tools, all kinds of things. For the most part, when you put things on a Canvas page, you're not going to be collecting back any data. So if I put a play pause it external tool on a page, I'm not going to get any data. If I embed a Google Doc, HyperDoc, I'm not going to know much about what the kids actually accomplished unless something they clicked on gives me data. But if I want to install a studio resource that's going to collect data, I can still do that on a Canvas page. I'm going to show you just how I did that. Remember, you would go to View All Pages, click Add Page, and I'll call this Studio Page 2. You would call it, you know, 1.6 Moon Phases Quiz, whichever, you know, where you are in your modules. And the most important button to know about for this activity is going to be this plug button over here on the right. If you don't see it in your rich content editor, you might have to click these 3 dots. I also want to let you know about this button down at the bottom, which is the one that expands this box. And you have to drag it every time. It's a little, I wish it could always just be a certain size, but this is like an ice cube tray button. That's what I heard it called on one of the Canvas videos. I must have turned my keyboard off. So let's just save that and we'll come back in. You see that my toolbar disappeared. Here we go. So when I click the 3 buttons, 3-dot menu, the snowman menu, Canvas Studio is one of my first apps that shows up. Well, let's just look in here, Google Drive for embedding Google Docs on your page, play pause it. We're going to get rid of this play pause it sandbox. We are testing Quizlet, TED Ed, YouTube. YouTube works really great here. You can just, this is a little bird walk. You can search for a video and then you can put in, click embed and it'll pop it right onto the page. But we're gonna actually be, like I said, taking a look at Canvas Studio. So this is the external tool button. Looks like a plug. I call it the plug button. So when I click on Canvas Studio from there, same box pops up. You're going to see this process looks pretty similar. I'm going to click select. I'm going to decide if it's the quiz or the discussion and whether or not I'm going to allow comments, and then I'm going to embed. And now you can see when I click save, I'm going to have the quiz right on my page, which I think is, you know, really easy to do. And the last one is you can also put it in a discussion. I'm not sure if you need it in a discussion when it has a discussion board underneath, but if you have questions in there, you could say, respond in the comments, and you could make a discussion out of the video by stopping along here, and they could just indicate, yes, I did it, no, I didn't in the comments. Like you could leave this comment box off and they could use this reply button if you wanted to have, I don't know, maybe a more in-depth conversation or a conversation about specific areas in the video, that sort of thing. If you slide over the subscribe to comments, you're going to get emails, most likely. You're going to get notifications when people respond to your videos. So you want to just keep that in mind. If your discussion comments are blowing up in your email, you might need to come over here and unsubscribe and just remember to come back here and check it. I tend to keep these notifications on in the beginning until I'm actually like living in this little Canvas ecosystem. Otherwise, I might miss things. You can also, I'm pretty sure, put Studio in quizzes. I'm not sure if you'd want to do that, but it's something that you could do. You can also make it an assignment by using the external tool as well. I don't know if I have a sample in here. Let's see. Yep, here it is. So maybe you can guess that in order to do this, I used the external tool option. So if you've already been working with the Google assignment, you've already used the external tool option, which is here. It's a submission type. So when it comes to an assignment, it can be no submission, online, meaning they can do a text entry, a file upload, those sorts of things. On paper, it means you just want to give them the mark is done button or the external tool. And when you come in here, there's Canvas Studio again. So you'll notice that this menu looks exactly the same as the other location with the same resources in there. And it's our goal, we talked about it just this past week in a meeting actually, like to figure out which of these things are left over from our pilot and what we really need in here and what can be added and how does it actually work once we get it in here. So while you'll see some things in here, I can't guarantee, like here's Flipgrid. I tested it the other day and it wasn't quite working for me. When you're making Google assignments, always choose Google assignments. We're gonna remove Google Cloud assignment. That's a previous version. Nearpod. So this is a separate topic, so let's not get into that. But if you're curious about Nearpod, Play, Pause It, Canvas Studio, and the Google assignment, you want to go to the Interactive Tools course that Eric Whitmer put together for over the summer, and you can totally just self-enroll in that. That's pretty much the bulk of what I had to share about Studio. I mainly want people to realize that it's a really awesome resource for organizing content, making short videos, having discussions about video. And I think in a distance learning environment or even the blended learning environment that we're in, we're going to be in with our current, reopening plan, you want to be able to create resources that are interactive, but also take some of the pressure off you when it comes to grading and feedback. While it might front load your effort now, it's going to reduce your effort later online. I want to also make it known that the Canvas LMS YouTube channel, they had a live stream the other day, the new online learning reality. They have one coming up about centers in Canvas courses, station rotation, and you can just set a reminder. And if you don't get there live, it's no big deal, although they are kind of entertaining. And then there's the exploring training with new quizzes. So if you have not been tuning into Canvas on Twitter or you're not subscribed to this YouTube channel, I recommend it. You can just follow them on Twitter because they broadcast these things all the time. And you can set notifications on Twitter, if you want to get a pop-up on your phone whenever they go live, you can totally do that. I think I have that set, but it's not required.